Hi everyone, this is Jason. Joining me today is Lisi Linares of LinaresPR+. We're going to be discussing virtual reality, public relations, and cryptocurrency. But before we begin, please subscribe. Thank you. Hi everyone, this is Jason and welcome back to the channel. Joining me today is Lisi from LinaresPR+, which is a PR firm in Los Angeles, California.
Hi, nice to see you.
Hi. So we've been following each other on Twitter for a while. And I wanted to, and I'm glad I'm able to speak to you, because I think we have a similar background where we kind of found ourselves into the space, and then we just started developing in the space.
Sure.
But how did you find yourself in crypto? Like, was it anything particular that piqued your interest, or how did you come into the space?
Well, I was very much intrigued by Bitcoin during the Silk Road days and free Ross, by the way. Um, and I've always been a tech head. Like when I was at NYU, I was already experimenting with VR, and that was already a long time ago. I don't want to age myself, but it was a while ago. So I've always been very much into technology, and someone that's always been a tech person, you tell them something about digital currency or you read something about digital currency, it's going to pique your interest. So I remember reading about what was happening with Silk Road, um, and that really got me very much into, wow, there is a thing that could transfer funds, value from one person to the other without a bank. And that was very interesting to me. So then after the whole Silk Road thing happened, I was like, oh man, Bitcoin is dead. What's going to happen now? And then it was silence. And then out of nowhere comes 2016, 2017, and I did a season of Survivor some years back, and I was a recording artist. And I remember looking at the PR machine, especially during the CBS Survivor days, and thinking, wow, when all this is over and I'm not doing reality TV or really immersed in the recording industry the way that I was at the time, I think I'm going to do PR. And sure enough, a couple of years passed and it came, an opportunity arose, and out of nowhere, literally it fell on my lap. I went from doing a very small client that wanted to do some real estate on the blockchain, and that led to bigger and better projects. I mean, I had the privilege to work with David Chom as he was launching his Elixir, and moments like that just explode your career in crypto, because I don't have to tell you, everybody knows everybody else. So literally, to make a long story short, crypto came onto my lap like a little lap dog and said hello.
Well, and you make a very good point about everyone knows everyone in crypto. I mean, you think that, what other space can you be in where a person with, I don't know, 1,000 followers could also be followed by CEOs and presidents of companies? I mean, that doesn't happen in other spaces like it does here.
Yeah, the accessibility is fantastic because it really allows for creativity.
Right.
And that's really where the explosion happens, creativity.
Right, exactly. And then you also have to think that um, you don't know where the creativity is going to come from. So you can't be as, well, we only listen to these people, or
Right.
we only listen to this group. Whereas with crypto, if we get into that argument about Bitcoin, I'll go make Bitcoin Cash, right? Or if you don't like, uh, you know, Bitcoin Cash, well, I'll go make Bitcoin SV, and
Right.
we
That's
we
right.
we don't have you don't have to listen to me. I'll go create my own thing and let the market decide.
Right. Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about your PR business. What kind of clients are you looking for? Are you currently involved with? How does that? How is it? And has it been working out for you so far?
Well, there was a moment there where I was very, very tech heavy, very, very crypto, very blockchain, and my passion is entertainment, and that's really where my life is. You know, I come from that world, and when I found myself very much in crypto, fintech land, I had a moment where I was like, okay, no, 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 this is a little too square, a little too by the numbers, I guess you could say. And I took a step back and I'm like, hold on, I want to merge these two worlds. So then I really started acquiring clients that are more creative and clients that are doing really interesting things on the blockchain and tokenizing. Like, for instance, Block Punk. I did a nice campaign with them while the Anime Expo was happening in Los Angeles. We got to premiere the first movie on the blockchain, the first anime that's tokenized, and it's stuff like that that I want to continue in the path. That being said, I have clients that are straight tech and I have showbiz clients that are straight showbiz, but to put the two worlds together, that's what I love. I love seeing actors with apps. I love seeing actors that code. I represented a Victoria's Secrets model that got some heat from the community because she was coding. Like, all of a sudden, a model can't code. So she was one of my favorite clients up to date, but that pretty much encompasses what I do.
Well, and I'm glad you bring that up because I've been doing some conversations with people about diversity in tech, and especially women in tech, and it fascinates me how many people are still in that mindset, like, you're a woman, what are you doing? It's
Right.
like, well, what does anything from here down have to do with my or your ability to
Right.
work in tech? I mean, and this isn't new. I mean, Hedy Lamarr is
Thank you.
a very
Thank you.
famous actress
Yep.
slash scientist
Right.
back in the, was it 1940s,
Yeah.
right?
30s and 40s. Yeah.
30s and 40s. And
Yep.
people gave her crap for it. And quite frankly, people still try to give her crap because they tried
Right.
to say she didn't do,
Right.
and for anyone watching, I'm going to link in the description some information on
Perfect.
Hedy Lamarr. You need to watch
Nice.
that. All right.
Nice.
There's her name is Tara Wheeler,
Mm-hmm.
and she wrote a book called Women in Tech.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why um, I started reading it, and the reason why I started following that line of topic,
Mm-hmm.
is because anybody who is coming from a situation where you're considered not a part of the group,
Mm-hmm.
any are not belonging, right? That's a story that all of us at one point or another should be able to relate to. So, what do you think about that? Have you, well, let's take your personal experience. When you got involved in crypto, and especially when you started transitioning into um, trying to bridge the gap between crypto, PR, and things like that, what kind of hurdles did you experience where you were like, people were saying, well, why are you doing this? Or this isn't for you? Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Um, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a people person, and hurdles like that I don't usually find, because talking is a wonderful enabler. If you sit down and you talk with someone and you say, hey, listen, I have this fantastic client, they're really smart, um, this is what they do, they're trying to put this out in the world. Like, it's amazing how gaps are bridged through conversation. So I haven't had an instance where, oh, that's impossible, how dare you try to merge these worlds. I knock wood, that has not happened yet. Tech and entertainment are two fields where there's a lot of common ground. On my LinkedIn page, my motto is, when entertainment and technology get together, they make the Titanic. And, cinema is a perfect example of how you make art with technology. So, putting the two worlds together has been a beautiful journey. There's some clients that are not technically involved at all, and there's some technical clients that really don't care too much about the entertainment business, but those people are usually not on my roster.
Well, and that's you make a good point about the bringing the two together. Let me ask you a question because you mentioned anime, and I saw on your LinkedIn page that you also work with virtual reality. Is that did the anime lead to virtual reality, or was the virtual reality already a part of what you were working on?
No, VR is my first love. When I was in film school at NYU, I was like a crazy person running around saying that VR is the next cinema. And that was, like I said, a very long time ago. But that is my first passion. And there's a couple of projects that are personal projects of mine that I'm trying to lift off the ground. And I've got a couple of clients that are working on some top secret, next level storytelling journeys.
That's very cool. That's very cool. I was talking to his name is Jared. He's with the company called Silicon Nexus, and they're working on virtual reality blockchain based games. So you're right about it being the next generation. I mean, it actually it fascinates me that we haven't seen more of a push toward virtual reality as you would have thought by now, because virtual reality games aren't new. I mean, we've had virtual reality games since at least the 90s. I remember going to the arcade and there you'd have the helmet, and then most of them were shooters, right?
Right.
And it was it was, I don't even know what's the word, is like it was like a grid. It looked like Tron, right?
Yeah, very Tron like, exactly.
Right. And but it was virtual reality. It was you in the game.
Mhm.
And do you think we're going to see more of that coming out? I mean, I can imagine that there's a great number of games that would translate well into virtual reality, but I wonder if it's is it a funding issue, or is it a willingness issue?
Well, it's a couple of things issue. Like the technology has been around, but it hasn't been consumer friendly until recently. Like the Quest not being tethered is a great leap in the right direction. To be able to roam around while you have these goggles on is a step in the right direction. That being said, we're really not there yet because we need to have a VR experience where you share it with others. This current project that I'm very much immersed in right now, called Decadence, is basically a fly through a New York City nightclub, but there's a companion piece that goes with it, and it's a 3D short. So you watch the short before an IMAX feature in the cinema, and then you get to know the characters, and then you go home and you role play the game in VR. So you become the characters that you met on the screen. So with that, you tokenize the users, and the more you play it, the more currency you get, et cetera, et cetera. But that is a companion piece. That is one thing leading directly to the VR project. We still have to talk about storytelling and how to tell a story, how to make it cinematic. A lot of VR right now is either you're a game where you're like Beat Saber, or you are doing role playing, or the storytelling aspect is still lacking. There's some projects out there like Felix and Paul put out some really interesting projects where it's very immersive and it's a story, but it's still not there. All these factors still have to come together, not unlike what happened with cinema. In the beginning, the Black Maria was basically shooting, well, Lumiere went into the tunnels of New York City and shot the trains. So that was happening for a while before it evolved into true storytelling. You have to teach the audience how to perceive a story in a different way, very much like what happened during cinema. People were just watching the stage, and you had to teach the audience how to perceive the story visually. And that is the interesting thing, because we want to ultimately break the language barrier. You break the language barrier with pictures. La la.
Well, and being that we're talking about virtuality, I think right now the best example for me is Ready Player One, the movie that just came out.
Right.
Because it's you're wearing a full suit, right? And you can feel the world that you're interacting with. And that's the reason why I bring it up on what you were just speaking about, is because in the original, in theater and plays, you have to be able to emote so that people out in the back row can feel what you're projecting.
Right.
Right. So it's not just talking, right? It's you're bringing something up from inside and throwing it out, and people receive it and they process it and then they give it back to you. That's where VR is different from regular Xbox, right? Because I'm sitting here on my controller and sure, it's vibrating, but there's a different sensation to when you can feel it right here. Right. And that's where VR is, where that is when gaming will become next level. Isn't even a word for something like that, right? But that's where we're headed as soon.
Part of paradigm shift.
Right. That's the shift.
Like very, very dramatically. And it's all leading to that click. You know, we happen to be living in a time where we could see that click happen. And that's fascinating. I mean, my grandmother was able to see women wear pants and electricity come in and driving and all that sort of thing. We too, we're going to be able to say, I remember when I go to the movies and there was a flat image.
Yeah, one day, well, like we always say, these kids today will never know the struggle of having to use a tape deck.
Oh, for sure. Oh, that's long gone.
Right. About your experience in PR. Was it it doesn't sound like it was too difficult for you to get started because you're a very outgoing person. But what kind of I don't want to say hurdles, because we kind of already touched on that. But I'm sure it wasn't easy to get started, right? There were things you had to, there was a learning curve when having to deal with agents and actors and companies. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience? Like how long was it before you said, okay, this is what I want to do?
I don't think I had a chance. It literally just snowballed. 2016, 17, and 18 were years where everything snowballed. Like it started at the bottom of 16, and 17 snowballed, 18 snowballed. You had 2017, the year of the ICO. Last year was another year where there was a lot of traveling, a lot of projects. That's the thing that really has, that's the thing that's really propelled me in PR. Now, not so much, because the projects are getting really, really solid and people are really getting smart and they're understanding how to make this happen. But back in the day, when everyone had an ICO and everyone was launching a project and everyone was pitching a project, the phone literally would not stop ringing. So I'm very fortunate that that happened and I happened to be at the right place at the right time. So yeah, it has been a snowball, and I'm sure I've spoken to other people in the business and they pretty much say the same thing. There really wasn't a moment of like, oh, I think I'm going to do this. No, it was like, you're doing this and it's happening right now, and you're getting on a plane to go to Money 2020 in like 5 days. You're out of here. And it
Right.
was like that.
Well, yeah, and you bring up 2016, 2017, when I mean crypto was you know volcanic, and during that time when it seemed like every 5 minutes you had another company, another, well, like what was it, Long Island Iced Tea wanted to change their name to Blockchain, and I'm like,
Oh
okay.
my God, right. Right. I don't
Um,
remember. Was it Long Island iced tea? I remember that.
yeah, it was one of those, and obviously it was a PR stunt, right? But it was like, okay, see, now you guys are just trying to make this look silly.
Right.
Um, but I think um, where what you do, public relations, where I think that's important, is because a lot of people in tech, um, crypto, blockchain technology, we're very here,
Mhm.
but we have a hard time projecting it out to the world in a way that they can understand. And and a lot of us are introverts, so we don't really do the out and about shaking hands things that is required to build capital.
Yeah.
So people that do what you do,
Mhm.
um, are that bridge for a lot of people,
That's
and
right.
that's why I appreciate what you do. And I have some friends, they work for Melrose PR, and it's another agency,
Mhm.
and they it the ability to be the bridge between the person who created it and the person who can distribute it is an invaluable. So you're performing a great service, and I really appreciate that what you do. And so, and thank you for that.
It's a pleasure, and it's so much fun to see a project start. And uh, like I said, I do PR plus because there's a lot more to it than just PR. There's a lot more than just getting you in touch with a journalist. Like, where's your project going? Does it have a message? Does it look like something? What is it saying? How are we going to say what it's saying? Like, there's a lot that goes into making a thing before the thing goes out and starts talking. So there's a lot of, I don't want to say hand holding, but there is a lot of coaching and a lot of, okay, if you guys are going to talk to the media, these are the points, this is how you should do it, this is how you're taken seriously. So it's an honor and lots of fun. It's never truly a process where it's like, oh, I hate my life. It's always really cool to talk to people that want to get something off the ground, or even when they're off the ground and they want to introduce something new, or all of a sudden they feel like their message has changed. All these things are very important components because having your finger on the pulse and speaking to your audience is key.
That's a great point, and I think we're going to leave it right there.
All
So,
right.
Lisi, thank you so much for speaking with me today. For anyone who wanted to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
Twitter, definitely. It's your best bet.
Okay, and I'll put the your Twitter handle in the description below. Official website?
Oh, I'm doing a whole rebranding thing. So just find me on Twitter, and I'm going to relaunch a gangsta website. There's a lot of stuff happening. So I want to be able to put it all under one roof. And there's a major launch coming up.
All right, so everyone, make sure that you stay tuned and follow her on Twitter. Like I said, I'll put the description below. And thank you so much for joining me, Lisi. And I'll talk to you on Twitter.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you.